ready for Greg. Connie, would you introduce him?
Okay, well, tonight our speaker is Greg Dish, who's won numerous awards in local competitions since 2005. And his work has been exhibited in art galleries, published in books, magazines, calendars, and used on websites. His images have been published by Sierra Club Magazine, National Geographic, Texas Highways Magazine, Route Magazine, National Park Service, National Parks Conservation Association, and many more. Greg believes that good photography does not require a lot of travel, but he does like to travel. He has been fortunate to incorporate his love of photography with his love of travel by sharing his knowledge through his photography workshops. So sit back and hear about great places for great photos in Texas, and then he invites you to join him on one of his photographic travel adventures through Texas. Please welcome Greg Dish.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi
I
there.
hope everybody can hear me all right and that I'm not too loud like I was earlier. So I'm not from Texas, so it seems a little odd that I'm doing a program on traveling Texas, but I have traveled quite a bit of the state, a lot of other places, and I really enjoy being able to share locations with other photographers. I know a lot of photographers want to keep their spots secret, but that takes all the fun out of it. So I'll share with you, and I'd like you guys to share with me as well. And I've prepared a PowerPoint tonight where I'll go through and give some information. There's no way I can go into detail on all the different sites, but if you have questions anywhere through the program, please ask at the time, stop me. Because if you're like me, you'll forget 2 minutes later what you were going to ask. And I'll keep talking until somebody tells me I got to shut up and quit. So I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, and hopefully it's going to work. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, looks good.
All right. Great places for great photos in Texas. A little bit about me. I've been a photographer since 1977, and I had an interest long before that, but really couldn't afford a decent camera. And I actually got a 35 millimeter camera for my wedding. And most of the time you get blankets and pillowcases and dishes and that type of stuff. But one of my wife's uncles decided that the man of the house ought to get something too. So I got a 35 millimeter camera, and that was the start of my career. I moved to Arkansas in 1977, which was also when I got married. And we were in western Kansas. And I wanted out of there. I wanted to go somewhere where there were trees and lakes and all the different things that are good to take pictures of. So what do I do now? Well, I go back to Kansas to take pictures. But I started in the computer business about 1990 and worked in a computer shop and ended up with partners and had a computer shop, and then closed that, and I did computer support working out of my house for quite a few years. And this put me in the greatest position when digital photography actually started to become practical. So 2005, I jumped into digital, and with my computer knowledge at the time and software, I was able to just really get going in it. And I've been doing digital since 2000, software developing, processing, all of the things that in the film days were left to professionals with very high dollar dark rooms. And so it was just a perfect combination for me with the photography knowledge I had from film and the digital knowledge I had from being in the computer business. When I was a teenager, I had a dream to travel and explore the U.S. And the reason for that is back when I was growing up, there is all these ads for see the USA in a Chevrolet. Well, when I was in Boy Scouts, one of the leaders had a Chevy Suburban, and that became my dream vehicle. And I'd grown up again with this ad campaign. You may remember this.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America is asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all. On a highway or a road along a levee. Performance is clear, nothing can beat it. Life is completer in a Chevy. So make a date today to see the USA. See it in your Chevrolet. Traveling east, traveling west, wherever you go, Chevy service is best. Southward or north, near place or far, there's a Chevrolet dealer for your Chevrolet car. See the USA in your Chevrolet. The Rockies way out west are calling you. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA, where fields of gold and wheat pass and review. Whether traveling light or with a load that's heavy. Performance is sweeter, nothing can beat her. Life is completer in a Chevy. So make a date today to see the USA and see your
All right. Well, that's what got my desire to travel, and at that time, you know, photographs weren't that much in my interest, but I wasn't able to do it because of work and family and kids and no money. So the last 10, 15 years, I've been trying to make up for it. Today, I'm driving a four-wheel drive Ford Expedition. I have had two Chevy Suburbans, and I've decided I like the Fords better. I've got GPS mapping, cell phone, GMRS radio, iPad with internet. So I'm in touch with the world while I'm traveling, and it helps you to keep from getting lost. Although I have never been lost, I've only been temporarily disoriented, and in search of new areas. So, you know, sometimes when you're think you're going the wrong way, you find some great photo opportunities. And there's been some great photos come out of almost being lost. I'm working on traveling the USA.
Oh my gosh.
I use the GPS on my cameras to put the coordinates, and then in Lightroom you can pull it up. And this is from about the last 9 years. So I have definitely been doing some traveling.
Oh,
Was there a question? No? Okay.
nope.
Where to photograph in Texas? This is what we're all interested in tonight. And for this presentation, I'm going to primarily focus on outdoors photography, nature, landscape, wildlife. I used to shoot people, and I didn't like that. Mostly because when you're taking photos of people, you have to make arrangements to meet with them, plan when you're going to shoot, and then get back with them to look at proofs and then order pictures and do all of that. Well, I had such a hard time getting people to actually show up when and where they said they were going to be, or to come and get their pictures. And I got tired of the hassle of dealing with people. But at one time I did have a full studio set up and did some portraits. And back in the 80s, I shot weddings back in the film days. And when I pretty much decided that I was going to get out of doing the computer support and do photography, I decided I was only photographing what I wanted to photograph. And so I pretty well just quit doing people, and I've been active in photo clubs and teaching photography and doing trips with the clubs since early 80s. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. So I decided to start doing the photography workshops. And I love it. It's a great way to get out and see the country and meet interesting people. And the only problem is it sure doesn't make a living like doing computer support does, but it's a lot more fun. So that's what I'm doing these days.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, this thing is slow tonight. Right, that's right. I haven't had this thing forever. Oh, okay. Okay.
How you make this bigger?
Wait a second.
Wow.
He just
he's got
started.
something going.
As you can see, there's a lot of diversity in Texas. That was just kind of a collection of a few shots that I put together to inspire you to get out and explore the areas that didn't look familiar to you. One of the ways for you to find locations is on my website. I do a photographic destinations section where I post information on locations that I think are good for photography. And I'll show that to you in just a little bit. But basically, I've come up with my own regions of Texas, a little bit different maybe than a lot of them. And that's Route 66 in the Panhandle area, the Texas Hill Country, Big Bend area, the Gulf Coast, East Texas, and West Texas. And we'll look at just a little bit from all of them, but Route 66 in the Panhandle. How many of you have done Route 66 across the Panhandle? Anybody? I see a couple. Yeah, several.
Yes. Yeah.
It's got some very interesting places to photograph. The old buildings and the ruins, and a lot of the places they're restoring and bringing back, but about the same rate others are going into disrepair. Stuff that was open and doing business a few years ago is now shuttered up. Some of the places that were crumbling to pieces are looking almost new now. So they keep changing. And there's a lot of revitalization going along on Route 66. The anniversary, the 100th anniversary of Route 66 is coming up in 25 or 26. And it's going to be a big national deal. Also, the National Park Service or Congress, or actually a lot of people, are pushing to make Route 66 a national trail, which what that will do, it'll unify it. It'll give proper signing all the way up and down it and a whole lot of other benefits. And I think that'll bring back a lot of interest in it. One of the things that I've noticed over the years with Route 66 is that there's a lot more foreigners travel it than there is Americans. Huge numbers of people come from Europe just to travel Route 66 in America. That's their whole destination. And if you stop at a lot of these little places where they have guest books and look through it, you'll see that most of the travelers are foreigners, not from the U.S. And we really should enjoy it more than we have. A few years ago, I was a photographer for a Route 66 book, and it's out of print now and all sold out. But I looked the other day on Amazon, and another company is going to republish it in November of this year. But it's Route 66 Ghost Towns and something. I don't even remember the title of it right now. But anyway, it was a fun project for me. The other thing that's the big interest through the Panhandle is at Amarillo is Paladuro Canyon. And it's actually the second largest canyon in the U.S., second only to the Grand Canyon. Now, it doesn't look anything like the Grand Canyon because when they measure a canyon, they don't measure how deep it is, they measure how wide it is. And it's wide, but it's not very deep at all. You got to keep in mind it's in the Panhandle of Texas, so there's not a huge hole in the ground like there is with the Grand Canyon. The Texas Hill Country. I found Fredericksburg is probably about the best place to stay and to base a trip out of to photograph bluebonnets. And some of you, I'm sure, are more familiar with the area than I am. But what I have found is it's very inconsistent from one year to another where the bluebonnets are. Places you think you go to and you're sure to find them, there's not many. In other areas where before there weren't any, they're just blooming all over the place. San Antonio, the San Antonio Missions National Historic Park. This is a group of 5 different missions spread out all over the place, and they're pretty nice to photograph. The structure of them, and they're mostly in good repair, still in service, and architecture like we just don't see being built anymore. There's also the Riverwalk, the Alamo, and there's a Japanese tea garden in the park there. That is a real nice opportunity if you're into plants and macro and that type of stuff. Big Bend area. Definitely somewhere for you to go as a photographer. Big Bend National Park, of course, but Big Bend State Park, I thought was just as good, if not better than a lot of Big Bend National Park. And a lot of people bypass it, but there's a lot of nice locations. It's all along the Rio Grande River. You can do raft trips on the river through the park. A lot of different things. You can get really back into the backcountry if you go up to the old ranch house and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth it if you're going to Big Bend to check out the Big Bend State Park as well. The Gulf Coast, the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge, Padre Island National Seashore, all down around Corpus Christi. A great place if you're into photographing birds at all. There's beaches. You go on down to the southern tip to South Padre Island, and you get in some lighthouses and different things. You get into the very touristy area, but if you want the more remote, back up around Corpus Christi, the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge is a great place to go. I'll be doing a workshop there in March where we'll be photographing whooping cranes. East Texas. I got to say, this is probably my favorite area in Texas, and primarily Cattle Lake. The little town of Jefferson, Texas there has some very interesting things as well. But the largest cypress swamp, bald cypress swamp in the country is Cattle Lake. And in the fall, when the colors change and you get the orange and the cypress trees and all of the Spanish moss, a little bit of fog, it just becomes a remarkable place. There's really not any place quite like it in the country. So that would be my favorite location. Over in West Texas, you get out there into the really remote areas, but there's Fort Davis National Historic Site, which is nice, well restored old fort. The Guadalupe Mountains National Park. There are great potential there. There's basically one road through there, and the other parts of it are hiking. And when I've been there, it's been over 100 degrees, and I didn't want to do a lot of hiking in 100-degree weather with no trees and just basically desert area. So I haven't done many of the hikes there. But not far from there is the McDonald Observatory, which isn't all that photographic, but it's a really cool place to go visit if you haven't ever been there. All right. How do you find these great places? Well, you can ask me. It's one way. But what I normally do when I'm going somewhere is I will do a lot of research. And I've come up with 2 things that... Yes. John? No? Okay. 2 things that I found that really helped me to research a location is Google. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. And hopefully we'll be able to make this work. Everybody able to see that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I'm just gonna pick a town. Let's see, let's do Groom, Texas. Well, typing is not one of my skills. But what I do instead of going through all of this is I'll just bring up the images. And if you do an image search on a location, you'll see what's there to photograph. You may then have to click on it and go through and do research to actually find out. But the cool places will pop up. And of course, the cross there, the largest cross in the Northern Hemisphere, the Leaning Water Tower and stuff are right there at Groom. And it doesn't take long looking through the images to find those things. So that's number one is I'll look along my route, see what towns, what areas, and I'll just do an image search. Now, if there's not a lot of good stuff to photograph, you can put something in like Kingwood, Texas. And what you'll see are mostly aerial shots of the town, golf courses, real estate, and just a rural, or not rural, residential type of area with photographs. And you may be into doing that, but you know, if you're wanting to shoot other things and out of the ordinary, this will show you what's there. And is there something I'm missing in Kingwood? Anybody?
Well, we do have parks at Lake Houston.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, the parks on the lake.
Yeah. So, but it'll give you real quick a good overview of what there is in that area. All right. The other thing, go back to this, and once you click, okay, this one I put in Page, Arizona. And the reason I put in Page, Arizona, any of you been there? I'm sure you have.
Yes.
First time I went to Page, Arizona, I spent 3 or 4 days there, and I did not photograph Horseshoe Bend. I didn't realize it was there. You know, it was 3 miles from where I was camping, a short little hike, and I just didn't know about it at the time. I'd gone and photographed down the Lope Canyon and down along the lake and went down to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, but didn't even know the Horseshoe Bend was there. Had I have done this image search, I would have known it instantly. So this is my top secret for finding great locations for photography. The next thing that I use is Road Trippers. It's an app for navigating and doing, and let me go ahead and bring it up. And I should have logged in, but Road Trippers works differently than most of your navigation apps in that you can actually find things along the route instead of just the route. Well, let me just bring up one of my trips. But you start out with your where you want to be, and then you can put in where you want to end up. And I started out with just going down to Aranza, but what's so cool about this? You see this gray line? Well, what we want to do is look up here. Let's go for sites and attractions. And whatever area I'm looking at on the map here, it will bring up the items that might be of interest in that area. And when I point to it, you can see it flashes over here. So you can see what's along your route, see if there's anything of interest. Now, this is user supported, so there's some weird stuff, but but you can generally get a pretty good idea. Let's say we were interested in this blueberry farm. When click on it, it'll bring up a little bit of a web page, and usually then you can go to the website of the blueberry farm and find out what you really wanted to know. And the fact that you can search along your route and find what's out there is what makes it of interest to me. Instead of just getting you from point A to point B, you can find out what's there. Now you have the option here, get rid of the cookie notice, to change the distance from your route. You can set it to smaller areas, or you can set it to infinite, and it'll show whatever is on the map that you're showing. So you can zoom way in, and you can see over here, there's not much in that area. But as you move the map, it'll show what areas have stuff. And you can do all sorts of different criteria here. We close the sites and attractions. We can do the great outdoors. We can do lodging, motels, restaurants, gas stations, shopping, and just a whole lot of different types of areas that you want to search for. So this to me is one of the more useful research tools when planning a trip. My website, Photographic Destinations. This is something that I've been working on for quite a few years, and I have a whole lot of places that I need to get posted, but it's mostly just an issue of time to do it, because I'll spend a half a day to a full day doing each of these destinations, and that adding to everything else I'm trying to do and keep up with is kind of tough. But what I do, I've got a map, which you can zoom in. And if you're going to an area and you want to see where I've been and what I'm recommending, you come to an area, you click on it, brings up one picture. Yeah. Make that a little smaller. And then a link to my web page on it. And then here, I'll give some basic information, what there is to photograph, where it is. I'll give you a map to get there. This is an interactive Google map. You can zoom in, you can change it from the map to the satellite and just zoom all the way in to get a good satellite view of what we're looking at. And basically what this is a rock sitting on the top of a hill right out here. And it's just one of the landmarks for Kansas. I've got GPS, cost of it, what facilities are available. And of course there's nothing because it's a rock sitting in the middle of a field. But then I'll have my gallery from my website with what photos I have from it. And generally I'll have quite a few photos. So I try to provide the information you need to know if you actually want to go photograph it, what it'll cost, and where it is. My online gallery. This again is going to my website. And when you click on the gallery link, this is a different part of my website. But as far as photographing, I have them sorted by location, by state. So if we go to Texas, I've got galleries for pretty well small type areas. Some of them are larger, but like down in Big Bend State Park, Closed Canyon is a slot canyon down along the Rio Grande River, and here are my photos from it. And looking at you can say, hey, yeah, that'd be pretty cool to go do, or you can say, that doesn't interest me at all. But it gives you a pretty good idea of what you're getting into. And you can go to the different photos. So those are the resources that I offer. Hopefully they will be of help to you. And then I also offer the workshops where it's live and in person. And my workshops I keep small. I don't want to take 8, 10, 12, 25 people on a workshop. Most of them are 4 to 6 people maximum. A lot more of them these days are only 4 people. And it's a lot of instruction, not just a guide, where we get out there and we work one-on-one with what you're interested in learning. All right, questions?
Greg, I was just looking at your website. Looks great. Looks great.
Hey, Greg, one of the areas that I'm kind of looking at for the club this year is Austin area. What do you know about the Austin area for photography?
That's an area I haven't spent any time photographing in. I've just basically driven through it. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff there, but there's just not enough time for the number of places there are to photograph.
Okay.
But I'm expecting to hear from you in the future what there is to photograph there.
Well, we're going to try to get there this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, I just was doing what Greg was doing today with Google and looking at a bunch of small, cute old towns and stuff. There are a lot of them in the central Texas around Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Any other questions?
Greg, do you have a list of when you have different workshops?
It's all on my website.
Okay,
Yeah, just go to the website and there's a workshop section.
thank you.
We did, Connie and I and John did the November workshop up at Lake Caddo, and we'd recommend it's really a beautiful.
Right there where you drop her off.
Sorry.
Wasn't there. I put the card.
Jim's on the phone. I'm not muted.
Oh, okay.
Poster
Okay,
thing,
sorry.
Dashboard.
Okay, okay, it's muted.
Okay.
Now.
Sorry.
That's all right. I can't tell if it's a question or if I'm just not understanding.
No,
We were talking old people earlier, so.
we'll get back to in-person meetings soon enough.
What have you photographed in the Bay Area? I noticed that was on your map.
In which area?
The Bay Area, San Francisco, Toledo.
Yeah, I photographed just to north of San Francisco. That was as far south as I got. I haven't done from San Francisco south along the coast in California. I've gone all the way north, all the way up to the top of Washington. But the national park there, what's the name of it? Can't think of the name of it right now. Point Rise.
Oh, yeah, Point Reyes, yeah.
Point Reyes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pretty cool stuff there. But let me.
What you can do is there's a website I think called lighthouses.com that you can find all the lighthouses along the coast, and those are always great. Almost all of them are great locations. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me bring up that area on my map and we can look a little better at it. I think I've got all of the lighthouses up through Oregon on here, but I'll just zoom in on this. And
Yeah,
the lighthouses
Greg.
are these little.
To share your screen again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Some of those
I did,
lighthouses,
but it didn't.
yeah. Some of those lighthouses you can actually stay at too.
There we go.
We can see it now, Greg.
Yeah. But here's all the lighthouses up through the area. And I don't believe there's any of them along here that you can stay in.
Yeah, there is one down by San Francisco. What was the name of it?
Okay, maybe down that far. Yeah, like I said, I haven't got down.
It's just north of Point Reyes. I think I remember the name of it now. But yeah, I stayed there for about 4 or 5 days. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went to Point Reyes, the lighthouse was closed and couldn't get anywhere near it. So I wasn't able to photograph it at all.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Wait a
There.
minute. Now there's one of them there that had lodging. It wasn't actually in the lighthouse, but some of the other buildings and stuff. Were you right in the lighthouse?
No,
or
we were in the lighthouse keeper's house. And what I remember about that is the bedroom got swept by the light at night every 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
So you would get this big bright light go through the bedroom.
So not as romantic as you might have thought.
No, it actually was really nice. A very nice place to stay. I think of the name of the place. I can't remember it. It was.
Yeah. I think it may have been this one. Yeah, rental the keeper's homes on the property. Yeah, Point Arena.
Yeah, Point Arenas is one of them.
Yeah.
The one was actually, it was in the house was right there next to, and right next to the
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it may have been this one. I don't know. But
yeah, I wish I could find it.
And Greg's doing a real quick thing of showing you all his workshops on the right-hand side.
It was Point Cabrillo. That's where we stayed. It was Point Cabrillo.
Point Cabrillo. Let's just go back.
Point Cabrillo Lighthouse is where we stayed. That is a nice little keeper's house. Very well appointed. I mean, nice kitchen, living room, dining room. Yeah, that was it. That was it. So if you like to stay at places, that I really highly recommend it. It was really great.
That's cool.
And there's and the nice thing is you're there at night by yourself. Sunset, sunrise. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And a lot of the lighthouses, you don't get a very good ocean view from.
Mhm.
Some of them are way up off the land, off of the ocean, and some of them are out on islands and stuff that you can't hardly get to if you want to photograph them.
Yeah.
So,
well, this one has got it. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, it shows the keeper's house, and it's really a nice.
Yeah, this should be it right here, isn't it?
Oh, that's the lighthouse.
That's
Down below is the
okay.
keeper's house. Down there.
There we go.
There you go.
There's the section of the keeper's house. They got several there for rent, and then you get on down into my gallery, and there's a whole lot more pictures of the area. And
Greg, when you did photographing up at Caddo Lake, did you have a boat, or was it accessible by land and foot, or what?
no, the only way you're going to really photograph Caddo Lake is from a boat. The Caddo Lake State Park, you can get a sample of it. There's a little pond there with some beautiful trees in the swamp, but to really get on the lake, you've got to have a boat. And if you're going to do a tour for this fall, you need to be booking it now.
Are there several operators who offer boat tours?
Yeah, there's about a dozen of them.
Do they offer photography tours, or is it just kind of a catch as catch can?
Both. There's a lot of them that basically just do a hour to 2 hour tour where they just run you around a while. There's some that do dedicated photography tours. The captain that I use, he's out there to do what we want to do. He'll take us out. We're out 3 to 4 hours, and he does this every day. So he knows where the trees are, the colors is at, and he gets us to where we need to be. But
Who is that?
he'll move the boat. You know, if we say move back 6 inches, he'll do it. So we can line up and get the shot. But a lot of them, you're on a boat with 12 to 15 other people and they're just cruising along.
Yeah, I just got, somebody just pointed out to me, Greg, you're into one of my great loves, which is infrared photography.
Yes,
I even have a workshop on it.
yes, I do.
When you're photography, taking photographs from the boat, are you using a monopod or are you just doing handheld or what?
Generally, what I'll do is I will take a tripod to hold my big camera with a long lens for photographing birds, simply because it gets too heavy to hold on to. But if you're going to try to get a bird in flight, you've got to have your shutter speed up fast enough that any movement from the boat doesn't matter at all. And then the landscape photos are generally wide angle enough, and I just keep up a fast enough shutter speed. But I recommend, if you want to be able to do bird photography and the landscape photography, is to have 2 camera bodies and just swap back and forth.
Okay.
More on
Thank
your
you.
interest in infrared.
I'm sorry?
How did you get interested in the infrared?
Oh, I had a friend that was doing it many years ago, and he kind of got me interested by some of the shots that he had done. And so I decided, yeah, I'll give it a try. And it's something that, you know, when you're out there in the summer and you get midday and it just way too contrasty and terrible to shoot any type of landscape, infrared actually works quite well. So it gives you a way to keep shooting all day long. Something else I do in my workshop, I teach you and we set up to do all of your processing in Lightroom. Normally infrared, you have a lot of trouble trying to get rid of the red cast, and people tell you you can't do the color channel swaps and all that. And once it's set up, yes, you can do all of that in Lightroom.
Yeah, no, I found how to do that too. So it's good.
Yeah, you have to build some custom profiles that you import into Lightroom, and that takes a lot of that work out of it. What you'll spend 5 to 10 minutes going into Photoshop and doing, you can do in 1 click in Lightroom.
Can you share your boat captain's name or any contact info? Is that permissible?
Absolutely.
Caddo Lake?
Absolutely. I share information. It's Old Jiggers, Caddo Lake Adventures. And I don't know his phone number or anything, but Google will bring him up.
We have his contact stuff.
What was the first part of that? Old what?
O-L-E Jigger.
Oh, okay.
Jigger.
Yes.
He's a jigger fisherman. He fishes when he jigs. He doesn't cast for fish. He jigs with a pole, and that's how he got the name Old Jigger.
Oh, okay.
Because he does take people out fishing if you're interested in fishing on Caddo Lake too.
Yeah.
But he's got a nice pontoon boat for the photographers.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. Nice guy. Been this week.
Oh, he's got his own website too.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that the club could do something together, a group of us?
Yeah, we've talked about going back this summer to get the wood storks. So we'll see how that goes.
I got lucky and found one that was very cooperative, but my understanding, there's not just a whole lot of them on the lake.
They're there in the summertime when it's hot too.
Yes. Yeah, there not as many people get out there photographing in the summer because it does get hot.
We got it just the opposite, Greg.
What's that?
Pretty cold today. We were out
Oh,
there.
yes.
What?
You have to get,
John, who was out there? Who was out there?
Huh?
John?
You were out there on the cold day. I refused to go out when it was totally freezing.
That's better.
Well, and I've been out there when it was a lot colder than that day.
It was pretty cold.
It was frost on the pumpkin that morning, I can tell you that.
Yeah, actually tonight our what we call share and learn is with the iPhone photos. So later on y'all will see Caddo Lake done by iPhones. That's what I'm
Right.
showing.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any other questions for Greg?
Bill put one in the chat. He was asking what your go-to camera and lens was.
I've shot with Canon since 1978, and basically you get invested in a system and you just stay with it. But right now I'm shooting with an R5 as my primary camera, and the lens just depends on what I'm shooting. I've got about 6 lenses that I use normally, and then 2 or 3 that I very seldom use. But to me anymore, the camera brand or model is just irrelevant as far as image quality. They all do a fantastic job. I definitely recommend the mirrorless if you're doing action photography. Let me rephrase that. The newer mirrorless that have the eye focus, it's a game changer. It really makes a difference.
Yep.
Does that answer your question, Tim?
I think that takes care of what Bill was asking you. Anybody else got anything?
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
I hope you found some value in this.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Your website looks fabulous.
I'll be perusing that website later for some
Yeah.
ideas. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks.
So, that explains why Chuck was asking me questions. All right, this is just our reminder page here about the website itself. And if it will let me go forward, I will. All right, so one of the changes recently, we've updated the who we are portion of the website because we've had some changes in who is responsible for what. As you guys may have guessed, I'm involved now. I took Jim's spot as vice president. He elected to step down, but is still involved in many things. Jim's still our treasurer. Kathy's still president. We have Randy in activities. Chris, as you heard earlier, is taking over membership, and Chuck, as always, is our admin, keeping us all electronically organized. And so we have a number of folks listed here in the activities section. So Jim and Randy, Ellen, Pam, and Margaret. We don't have anybody for the hospitality at the moment. Now, obviously, we're virtual tonight, so that's a little different. There is no hospitality. I think we decided that we won't be doing refreshments and stuff even when we do go back in person. We'll just have kind of everybody can bring, a drink and a snack if they want it, or if they have something they want to share, they're welcome to. But in general, we're not going to have that as an organized event. So hospitality need is really around our Christmas party, which is obviously 12 months away about at this point. But making sure we have somebody or a team of people willing to help put that on and organize that. I think the last one was really great. So thanks to all those involved in that one. Went off really well, great food, and yes, well done. So if you have the willingness to volunteer for that, please let us know. Click the wrong button and I'm getting ahead of myself, way ahead of myself. All right. So membership again, it's Chris and Teresa's assisting. Connie's taken over our programs last year. And then I think everybody else is about the same. John's still handling the club store. We talked about the hats earlier. So that's our changes to the website, or the who we are portion of the website, and kind of some information on the availability. And with that, Jim, if you are still with us, I have to scroll through to find you. I'll let you talk real quick on our financials.
What do you mean? Am I still with you?
Well, I saw him. I saw earlier, and his screen was blank.
Thanks a lot.
He wasn't sitting at the desk, so making sure you're back. That's what I meant.
I think I checked out about a week ago. I don't know. Anyway, first of all, the budget is wrong. The numbers on this slide I'm not sure where they came from. I think they were
Well, that's not good. Sorry about that.
So let's just ignore that for
Let me
right
go back to the last one.
Yeah, did you put those on there too? I'll tell you.
We'll leave it there.
Okay.
That was the one I pulled off from Kathy, so my apologies.
Well, I was blaming Randy for that. I understand. She's
Nice try.
not taking ownership for it. I'll tell you that.
No.
All right, we'll blame Kathy. Anyway, real fast. We'll talk a little bit about 2022. The pretty simple cost structure. It really was nothing real complicated. We had 76 members, as I think maybe Chris mentioned, and that gave us about $1,500 in dues revenue. And expenses were pretty straightforward. The major ones were the Christmas social, about $300, and John's cap cost was about $300, cost of sales, and the web hosting, internet expenses about $650, and miscellaneous stuff in addition to that. Anyway, that totaled about 1.7 thousand and gave us a loss of $182. And so we're going to get an extra donation from everybody to make that up, you know. We'll send it out. All right. So anyway, for this year, real quickly, for 2023, we're forecasting the same number of members, 76, and the same dues revenue, about 1.5 thousand. And we're going to lower some of our miscellaneous expenses, and internet would be about the same. And John, by the way, has 10 caps that he has to sell, and he'll be more than happy to sell those to you for a discount of $50. So that's a deal, let me tell you. And anyway, that brings our expenses this year to, let's see, where are our expenses this year? About almost 1.4 thousand. And that should give us a profit this year of about $75. So anyway, and last year we filed all of our required federal, state tax returns, information returns, things like that. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's it. Pretty straightforward and not very complicated. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those. But anyway, that's about it. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you, Jim.
It's not like you're in shock.
I don't there for you to talk to.
Jim, Jim, I have one question. Do you have any
go.
top secret documents at your house we need to know about?
Well, I probably do. Is that Chris? Yeah, I probably do.
This is just from last year. What would
I think we all have some.
money.
He has them in the trunk of his Corvette.
If we're looking for top secret, shouldn't we be looking for officers from last year?
Yeah, right. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the ones that resigned, like Skeppins, I think he got out just in time.
Right.
And Pam, whatever happened to Pam?
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you just left me high and dry. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I have, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? We'll be more than happy to. Well, I'll just
switch
submit
slides.
to me
Anybody have
and
any
I'll
questions
answer
for
in a
Jim?
month or so.
All right, moving on. So it's a selection of stuff from our Facebook page here that gets posted throughout the month. As always, Chris has our, or I should say our, because I haven't shown up to an in-person one yet, your lunch group meeting there, along with a number of other posts and some recommended reading for the Austin area. So please, if you haven't, check that out,
Yeah,
participate,
good
post
stuff.
stuff. I'm slacking at that myself sometimes, so Yeah, please join us out there. All right, so community involvement. We don't, not a slide we usually have, but we did want to extend a special thanks to the folks pictured here. You'll see two different events here. And Pam, you can jump in if you want, or I will do my best to get through it accurately. But on the early December, I think the 10th.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Picture on the left there. You guys all went to the Village Center to do photos with the residents there. And obviously, yes, Santa in the middle is Mr. Man, Mark Walton. Sorry, I hate to give his identity away. The wrong people aren't listening. But yes, so Jim, Ellen, Pam, Emily, and Chuck participated along with Mark in that photo shoot. And then later on, you see Jim and Pam and Mark went back. That was later on, right before Christmas, right, Pam?
That was on the 23rd of December.
Yeah.
We went back, and then we were asked to photograph the fragile residents that they have. So Jim did a fantastic job. We did not have a background for it. This is the background you're seeing that we used. He didn't use flash. We didn't want to upset any of the residents. Some of them are sensitive to light and touch and things. And we spent 2 hours photographing. I think Jim was at 60 or 70. I can't
Well,
remember.
actually, it was in the 90 range. Pam.
Was it?
It ended up, yeah. And the people, I delivered the photos to them last week, and I mean, they're just over the top happy with everything. But let me point out that you and Santa, I mean, Santa's got to be one of the best Santas we've ever seen.
Agree.
I mean, he's fantastic. And so really, but I just think those people there are just the highlight. They just uplift your whole mood and everything. They're happy, and it's just a great time.
It's a lot of,
You wouldn't think so, but it actually is. Yeah.
yes,
Very nice.
it's a lot of work and dedication from you guys. So we appreciate you guys representing the community that way, and us, I guess, in general. So
Yeah, that's the first time
well
Santa
done.
had a chauffeur in a Subaru.
Well done. Thank you all.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
All right. So this was just a recap of our Christmas social, the folks that were there. So, made the picture this year. I wasn't late. So another reminder for our hospitality committee, help us organize the one this year. Won't do a whole lot on that until we get closer, but it's always good to start getting some ideas and planning in advance. And according to the slide that Kathy prepared, you can contact me. All right, Chuck.
Yeah, we've
our calendar.
We still have our photographers lunch. I haven't made the last couple of them, been out of town and stuff. That started off during the COVID times as a Zoom lunch on Wednesdays, and it's sort of stuck around. We still have it on Wednesdays at 12:30. People sign in and talk to each other. And then once a month, it's evolved into an in-person lunch, which is fabulous. It really has been fun. And if anybody here in this group wants to get on the list, please let me know. Just admin@kwphotoclub.com, and we'll put you on the list, notify you when the next lunch is. That's that. We have a series of, we used to call them library workshops because they were in the library. We've got to work on this a little bit. We don't have anything lined up for this year, but we will get some going. I'm going to do one on infrared photography. I may be the only person attending. And Chris Summers is going to be my helper in this one.
Right.
So Chris, I look forward to your help.
I'll be the jester. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. We also had for a while, and this shouldn't be on here, we had a monthly post-processing special interest group, but it really didn't show a lot of interest. We didn't have a lot of members joining us. We've sort of backed out on that one.
Well, we're going to revisit it maybe with some input from the club members and see where they'd like to go, because we can get very into certain products, and if people don't have those products, then it's not interesting. So we want to try and make sure because it's changing every day, every week. There's a new upgrade to some program. So
well, I like the way you think, Chris. That is good. There is a lot of upgrades. It's not just that, but I mean, I'm a strong believer that post-processing is very much a part of photography.
Yes, and we need to continue it.
And we
Yeah,
need to
we will.
continue. Okay.
We're taking a little hiatus.
Okay, good. A little hiatus. That's a good way to put it. All right.
All right. We got some other stuff on the right there, but I think we cover all those programs in another slide. So I'll keep moving here. All right, Randy or Jim?
Go ahead, Randy.
So, yeah, so for this month, we have the Hemi Hideout, and this is posted on the website as well as Facebook. And basically right now we've got about 10 people going. So I'm really excited about the number of folks that are interested. And we're going to leave around 11:30. We'll get together for carpool or caravanning. And I have us coming back around 4, but that's really only to allow for whatever traffic we run into going and coming back. But our actual tour is from 1 to 2:30, and it is $10 cash per person. But I know a lot of people have gone there, and I'm really excited about this opportunity. Yeah. So if you haven't signed up, please do. We'd love to have you join us. And that's this month's trip.
Randy, I would just add one thing. So many of our club outings also revolve around dining out somewhere. This one doesn't look like it does. So people need to just plan ahead. Put a sandwich in your car and eat it on the way.
Oh, Chris,
Chris,
I should have known.
Yeah.
I should have known.
I'm not sure if there was a comment or a complaint.
I know.
Or a
It sounds
recommendation.
more like maybe a complaint.
Randy, how long does it take to get there?
Well, it's a little over an hour.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Of course,
Yeah.
It's in Brookshire.
Yeah, yes, it's out past Katy.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
We'll,
So
we'll detour to Bucky's on the way back.
There you go. There you go.
There you go, Jim.
great solution, Jim. Thank you for coming through.
We'll plan for a late lunch then.
Yeah.
Well, Randy, I've got a half-day
Exactly.
schedule. I plan to come as long
Eat
as
a
nothing
late
major
breakfast.
comes up.
Awesome. Very good. Bring your sandwiches.
I'll bring my sandwich.
Or you could ride with Chris. I think he'll have food with him.
Yeah, I'll be coming from downtown, so I'll meet you there. I guess this is your slide of upcoming stuff.
Yeah. So trying to look for places where we're not necessarily out and it's going to be cold. I thought the Hemi Hideout sounded great for this month, and then possibly in February, going to the Fine Art or the Houston Fine Arts Museum and surrounding area.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So I'm going to keep my eyes on what's going on maybe inside. And Chris had also mentioned to me at one point, Thursdays are the freebie days. So, you know, that probably would make sense. Pay for parking, right. We had a lot of interest in a survey that I think we'll probably get around to a couple of comments on that. But for the going back to the zoo, so I put that for March. And then, of course, in April, as we know, there's going to be a plethora of locations for Bluebonnet or possible other gardens. I still want to try to do that Houston architectural walkabout. I might make that a pop-up rather than an actual, field trip. But either way, I think we've got some good opportunities in April. May, Galveston and surrounding areas. I know on one of my calls with the board members that was mentioned, they've got those houses that are those beautiful homes. And I think, I haven't seen them, but don't they have the trees that have been carved and, that they've saved and kept in the area?
Yeah, and they do actually have a online listing of those and with the addresses where you can make a kind of tour through them.
Oh, great. Yeah, because then you have a map of where you want to walk around and that sort of thing.
Well, you really have to drive.
Well, yeah, but you'd at least have a map of the area, right? And then you
It's got a map.
figure out. I know that there's also the ability to rent those golf carts. I don't know what is entailed in that, but that's another possibility, where people rent those and we do it that way. But of course, Galveston in May probably has lots of areas for photography. I particularly love that area along the ship channel and at the harbor there. So one other area that I've thought about, and I don't know if the club has been there, is the Texas Wolf Dog Project. It's in Montgomery County. There is a fee to do that, so I need to do some investigating, but I believe that you're actually there with the wolf dogs. They're not, you're actually interacting with them. So I
And
think
I
that
don't
would
believe
be
our club hasn't done that one. And I know some of the Woodlands clubs have done it, but I think it would be good for our club because
I
it's a
think it'd be
unique,
fun.
We did it
unique
several
experience.
years ago and they were behind cages, but you were right next to them. And they did bring
Well,
out a wolf dog. It just kind of walked along you, but
they've got
okay.
now, so it'd be interesting to see what it is.
But it was fun.
Gotcha.
It was a great
Yeah.
trip.
Been a couple of years.
And it also supports a great project, I think, in the state by participating, because I know there's a fee for that. So I'll do some investigating on that. Jim and I have had several talks about the Round Top area, and I think, Jim, you're going to look into what that might look like. I believe you said it could be a day trip, right?
It's a day trip.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Of course, now we're getting into the weather that everybody loves, summer.
July, August.
So I think at this point, I know that we've been to the Post, but I do feel like there's a lot of areas that we could probably capture some really beautiful Houston skylines in, sunset time. So maybe not so oppressively hot and a good opportunity to get out. And then we talked about August. That was our trip that we really didn't have any interest in this past year. And again, it could have been just that it's too hot, but we'll take a look at College Station. I still think that that's a great place to go to. And I actually had an opportunity to go over Thanksgiving to the library and the surrounding grounds. And I mean, it's fascinating. So anyway, and I think there's the college there, right? And Jim is very familiar with lots of places to go around there. September, we're looking at starting the courthouse adventure, and it likely will be overnight. So look for some more information on that. October, the Glenwood Cemetery, that was one of the first things I did with the club. And Jim, you led that. We actually went out right before sunrise, I believe.
Yep.
And October is the best time, is the feedback that I've gotten on that. So that will be another trip to put together. And then November, we really didn't have anything defined yet. And of course, December is our Christmas party. So we don't generally plan anything. So when I list all of this, what you don't see is possible pop-up and areas of interest locally and other things. So I really feel like this is a thin list, but at least it gives you some idea of some things we could be looking forward to doing. And then Jim is really looking more to doing a longer trip. So Jim, if you want to address any of your ideas here.
Yeah, I've looked at a little more detail about Austin. There's a lot around Austin. There's a lot of landscape stuff. There's skylines. The university's there. The state capitol is there. The Texas Museum is there. There are a lot of murals, a lot of older buildings. It would be a pretty comprehensive 2-day trip, maybe. And it's been about 4 years since we've been to Vicksburg, and that's in the back of my mind. That's about a 7-hour drive from Kingwood is to Vicksburg. But the battlefield, it and Gettysburg are the two most interesting and most complete battlefields. And it's a great photo opportunity. And then I don't know if we'll do a week-long trip. We didn't get a lot of interest last year, but what popped into my mind was the Las Vegas area, going out to Valley of Fire. There's a million things to photograph in Vegas. And then the other one is the Southern California area, some area in Southern California. I did notice the other day that you can fly a round trip from Houston to LAX for probably less than $200. About 16,000 frequent flyer miles.
Southwest Airlines.
No, no, it's on United, believe it or not.
Okay. Also in Austin, once one of the most fun things I've done in Austin is go on a Segway tour downtown in the evening. If you're going to do something in the summer in Austin, and you can see the bats coming out, and that's quite a sight. It's the biggest urban bat population in the country, at least. And then you see not only the bats coming out, but you see the skyline behind you, and you're on the river, and it's a really, really pretty sight.
Can I add just a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure.
On your trip to Vicksburg, if you do it, just south of Vicksburg are the Windsor Ruins and Rodney Ghost Town. If you're not familiar with those, they're well worth making a visit to.
Yeah, Greg, we went to Windsor last time we were there.
Yeah, we went there, didn't we, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one that burned down or something like that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just all the big columns are remaining.
It's in the middle of nowhere, though, you know.
Right. I just didn't want you to be that close and miss it. So
And we caught a piece of the Natchez Trace too.
right. And then the Rodney Ghost Town just south of there.
We didn't do that.
Yeah, you might check that out. There's some pretty cool old churches and stuff there.
Okay.
Jim, south of Vicksburg, there's some, I guess, what do you say, antebellum homes and things like that. And
That's
I
it.
can't remember the name of the city, but you said it might be worth going to sometime.
Yeah, Sam King and I went 2 years ago, and that was my first trip to Natchez. If you're not into touring antebellum homes, Natchez is not very exciting, in my opinion. Vicksburg is much more interesting.
The other thing, Connie and I have had some discussion about some of the speakers, and of course, Greg, yours is very timely, you know, and your website's amazing. There obviously are speakers like you that will have some great information like you did tonight. And if possible, we can, you know, tap into some of that for some activities. So just another thought.
Yep.
I hope you do.
One thing that was on Greg's website was San Antonio.
Yep.
And San Antonio, everybody thinks about the Alamo, but there are 4 other missions on down just a little bit south. And because the Alamo has so much reconstruction going on it, those other churches and Bahias are really cool, and they got great photography.
Yes,
So
they're
I don't think
beautiful.
you ought to drop San Antonio out of the list.
Yeah, it's a good place. Yeah, they have not only the old mission ones, but there's some fantastic Catholic churches which are open all day long, all around, not only in the center of the old town, but around. I spent one whole day just going to different places, and they're open during the day for people to come in and pray or whatever, and got some incredible interior architecture.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Just to let you know, Galveston on April 13th through the 16th is having their tall ships. So that could be a pop-up if you want to do one then.
Yeah.
What I've done for that particular tall ship display is you can get a seat on a pontoon boat for a twilight trip out into Galveston Bay, where they take the tall ship out. People can ride on the ship, but on the pontoon boat, you get to photograph it.
Right.
So I've already made my reservations on the pontoon boat for Friday and Saturday trips to try to get pictures of the tall ships going out into Galveston Bay.
Yeah. What
When
days
is
are
that?
those, John?
Yeah.
Pardon?
What day are those?
I
Thursday,
believe
Friday,
it's April
Saturday.
the 14th and 15th.
Okay.
But if you go to the Galveston Historical Association website, it'll all be posted on there, and you can sign in and make a reservation.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you want to get big time, you can get on a tall ship and go out into the bay, and then on out into the Gulf. But I found that to be a pretty boring trip and not much photography, because you're on that vessel with about 45 of your favorite unknown friends. Spend about 3 or 4 hours doing that, and that wasn't much fun.
Well, that's a good tip, John. Thank you. So the survey, we didn't get maybe as much of a response as we might have hoped for, but for the 21 of you that did respond, thank you. And the questions on there, they're, I think in most part were pretty basic, just, what is preventing you from attending and best times and all of that. So you can see here that most people's responses were really, it was just based on their personal schedule. There were 4 that said they worked and 5 that said if they were interested. So, not really, it's people will go if it sounds like it's good and it works out, and they can miss work. As far as the preference of weekday and weekends, unfortunately, by the time I got that question, it was already out there, but it really needed a little bit more of a change to it that I think we made at the very end. So I'm not really sure that we got the best responses on that, but weekends were the highest. But again, I think the weekday option wasn't as available. The problem with weekends can often be that's when everybody else is out, that type of thing. Now, traffic wise, that's better, but we'll try to keep both in consideration. So we want to make sure people have an opportunity to attend. Of the 21, though, 14 of you indicated that you'd be happy at some capacity to help plan. So guess what? I'm going to be reaching out to you. And I mean that sincerely. I am going to do an email with everybody that did come forward and say they'd be interested, and just look for anybody that is sincere about it and help us out with even some local events. And Connie sent me the link to the Kingwood Park. I forget which park it is, but they do a lot. Town Center.
Uh-huh.
They do a lot, and I've already opened that up, and there's some great photo opportunities in there. So look for some, maybe some could just be a pop-up. It doesn't, none of this has to be so formal that we can't just say, hey, how does this sound to somebody? And that includes anybody that's still on this Zoom call. If you want to do a pop-up, but you're not sure how to post it, if you reach out to me, I would be happy to put it on Facebook for you. If it's something we want to put into the newsletter, I can manage that for everybody too. So you don't have to have all the tools at your fingertips. I'm happy to do that. And then we got a lot of good suggestions, which I think we got some more tonight as well. So thank you again for everybody that did respond.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, any questions?
Good.
Okay.
Well, Connie, if you want to review who we've got coming up on the agenda, and so a couple opens as well.
Well, I guess you can see we started off with great photos in Texas, and then totally changed a little bit and went to becoming a better wildlife photographer and photographing wildlife around the globe. So that's not exactly a field trip for you, unless somebody would like to take a trip with David and I. But He also does the birds down in South Texas. Hector happens to be a South Texas photographer and off of the Santa Clara Ranch. So that is a possibility for a trip. And then he also does the Whooping Cranes, which is the same thing that Greg does. So there's some opportunities for people. In March, this is where the board has made a decision that we're going to do a hybrid meeting. I'll let somebody else talk about that. But so we'll have David Linderman. He's the president of the Houston Underwater Photographic Society, rather, and he's going to talk about the beauty and challenges of underwater photography. So I guess if anybody goes and does the ships, hopefully you stay upright and you can you don't have to worry about having your camera underwater, but in case you do, he'll show you how you do that. I have April. I have some pending dates there, but I have some people we're working with. The May photographer expert that I have is Jim Nix. Jim is actually a Luminar Skylum expert, but he's not going to talk about that, I don't think. But Jim Sweppens has discovered that he's also a gentleman who's out of Austin, and he has a book out about Austin. So you may hear a lot of that from Jim. And then Karen Anger is really a storytelling kind of photographer. So we'll see what she brings to the table. And then Rob Dole, he's going to capture the magic of West Texas, which he also happens to live in Austin. So we'll see what all, but he covers all of West Texas. He goes from the Guadalupes all the way down Big Bend, that type of thing, and the Hill Country. So we'll get another viewpoint of from another photographer out that direction. Small world here for anybody who may recognize him. After I contacted him, got to talking with him, Rob Dole happened to grow up here in Kingwood and graduated from Kingwood High School. So I don't know if I think he graduated in 80, maybe 90, something like that, 1990. Then Brian Hansel, he's going to come to us and do composition of landscape photography. He has a lot different tips. It's not just standard ways that you think. And then Adam Shallah, I think I pronounced it correctly, Pam, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, anyway, he's actually spoke to the club a couple years ago, and he's going to return and share his expertise with us.
If you guys notice the asterisk by the March date there, basically we're going to try that out. I think there's maybe some complications with the church, according to Jim, but we're going to try that out, and if all goes well with the hybrid format, we'll keep that going. Right before we get to the share and learn, a quick preview of what's to come. So today is our phone captures, and then next month we'll have street photography. And then we called this March one suitable for framing. So the idea would you either bring a print to the in-person meeting or show it electronically, something you want to print, intend to print, something like that. Trying to make it wide open, so don't be afraid to show it whether it's printed or not. Goal here, I think, is to make these as inclusive as possible, so we get a lot of participation there. So also, while we have a whole list of stuff, feel free to offer up any thoughts or opinions you have. You can email myself or Kathy or anybody here, really. So I won't read through all those, but you guys can see them. Of course, we'll cover the
Chris
food
Summers
topic
here.
later.
I'm really happy to see that one in March. Chuck and I had talked about that recently, so I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
Because some of us either we have framed photographs in our house we could bring, something we're proud of, or we could show it electronically. And I think it's a good idea, because we don't do a photo competition like some other clubs, so it's kind of another way to show the printed image.
I'm bad about it. I'm looking around. I've got some printed here, but I got plenty more I need to print, like for work.
Good.
Meanwhile, I see Pam looking over her shoulder at her printed wall behind her. So
yeah.
And I can say that I think John Gray's got some prints on metal that would be nice.
Well, I've done one of those for a gift for somebody. It came out really nice. All right. And here's our share and learn list. And then Chuck, I will stop sharing and hand it to you.
Okay, doke.
That was, I clicked the wrong. All right, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I'll start up the share thing here. Let's go. Right, you got. Let's see. I'm not. You're seeing his website right now. Let me get over to.
Correct, yeah.
Let's share and learn. Okay, this month share and learn was mobile photography, iPhones or whatever you got. We've got quite a few of them, as you can see. We got a nice list of pictures here, and I've got. Let's see. Okay, let's start with Ann.
Okay, that was on one of our trips to the post office downtown. And I usually take some on the iPhone as well as taking it with my regular camera, and almost always show people the iPhone photos.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
And that's my grandson. I had to have a picture of him, but you can see he's 3 years old and he's already learned how to mug for a camera. We learn early these days. And that was taken at the zoo lights.
Oh, nice.
Because we took the grandkid to the zoo lights, and it was a lot of fun. And that's the standard elephant, and it's been processed through what's the program? And
Snapseed.
Snapseed, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
it's been processed through Snapseed to give it kind of that almost black and white look.
Yeah, it's really nice.
dramatic.
It's almost like a pencil sketch. It's really nice.
That's fun. Hey, Ann, what phone model do you have?
I have an iPhone 13.
Okay, so it has night mode on it, right?
Right, and I think I was just snapping.
Okay, all right.
Right, left, and then it came out, and you can actually use Snapseed, and it'll pull out all the background from it, or it will make it disappear like it did here.
Yeah. Cool. Very nice.
Oh.
Bill Berry.
Yeah, well, I was actually at a wedding over in Montgomery County. Had the reception outdoors, and just happened to be at sunset. And so I snapped that picture with I didn't have my 14 then, I guess that was 11. But got the nice trees in the foreground there. Out in my backyard, I just happened to notice this butterfly fluttering around. And so if I'd been depending on my big camera, I'd had to go inside and hunt it down. But fortunately, I always have my cell phone with me. And so I managed to catch the butterfly hovering there for just a minute. It was back in November, I believe.
Pretty. It's real nice and sharp.
I think I've shown this picture before. That's over just outside of Independence. I happened to be just I was just finishing up my bluebonnet photography and happened to pass this place here and got that picture. And a few weeks later, I was in this photographic salon over in Brenham. The artist had the exact painting, this exact size of painting. And so I actually bought the painting too. And so I have both pictures mounted.
Bill, that would be a nice fixer-upper if you want to buy that and work on
it. So that's my photographs.
Carl, you here?
I think they're in New Hampshire right now.
Okay. All right. I don't have.
It's got more snow than that.
Sometimes, and people, well, I'm just going to make it, if you do put pictures in and you want to give me notes on what the pictures are, somebody did do that earlier, and that's cool. I mean, I'll read off your notes, but I don't have any notes on these here. So
it's Salt Lake City at the bottom.
Yeah, it says where it is. That's right.
Oh, did it? Okay. Yeah.
Salt Lake City. Yes, that's right. Okay. And then Carl, Utah. Okay. Well, that's a nice sharp picture. Phone. Mine. Hey, Connie should recognize where this is. Or Connie David. That was up in Alaska.
Oh.
And yes, a sunset. That thing was tied onto the back of the boat we were on. The best camera is the one you have with you, and sometimes you get really great shots with it.
Did you use Snapseed for the? I like the borders.
Yes, I did. You recognize that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I think, a Snapseed one. I do like to process my images, and one of the beauties of an iPhone is the fact the great joy you get from taking a picture and then playing around with it, making something a little special. This, for example, is another processed picture. That's a tree in Kingwood that I walk by almost every day. I just love the trunk on it. I love the roots coming out and all the detail on it. Again, it's pretty heavily processed, but again, that's the one of the phone. I like the painterly look here. And then this one was done up in Canada in a place called Saguenay, which is probably about 300 miles north of Ontario, and all those places, really pretty far north. Very rainy day. It was raining and it was pretty miserable day, but the iPhone just pulled it out beautifully. And this one's processed, but not very heavily. It looks very painterly. I just like the picture. The colors are pretty. It was fall there, so I was trying to take pictures of trees, but they were all in the fog. You can see the trees in the background here, but it came out pretty nice. Again,
that's a beautiful photograph.
Yeah, I like the way it came out. It's the fog and everything gives it a nice. The atmospherics always add a nice thing to pictures.
The only thing I would say here, well, real quick, I was going to say on your shot, it just shows that even with our cameras and our expensive wide angle lenses and our filtration kits that we can put on the lens, you could hold up an iPhone and get a really nice balanced. You look at the tonal quality in the clouds and the orange in the in the plants there, and the green in the trees and the water. It's a very beautiful picture.
Yeah, no, it comes out. That's what I'm saying with the phone. When Jim Johan gave me some comments on one of his pictures coming up, and he talks about not having as good camera, quote unquote. Hey, this was my good camera. I went to Canada, and the only thing I took with me was my new iPhone 14. That was it. That was it. That's the only thing I took.
Oh,
okay, Chris.
Speaking of Chris Summers, okay, so we were down. My wife had this big project in Namibia on the coast in Swakopmund, and we ended up renting a little condo in a building looking out over this every day. I would see the sunset, and because the Atlantic currents are very cold and they're meeting the desert, you get these incredible fog rolling in. And this was, every day I took a variation of this photograph, sometimes with surfers in the surf or kayakers, but that was my view. I kind of look at sometimes phone photography for me is a little more documentary, but I did use Snapseed on several of these to enhance the vision.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're sitting in Frankfurt waiting for our transfer to Johannesburg, South Africa. And this is our plane with a big double-decker Airbus. And we had a beautiful thunderstorm come in. And I stood at the window and just took some pictures. This was taken in a little brewery in Grimsby. You can see under Doc's Beer. Grimsby is in Lincolnshire in England, and I was wandering around and said, "Oh, it's time for a beer." But again, this is a cell phone, and it's got great tonal quality. The lighting is kind of contrasting. Of course, the glass is doing a great job of reflecting the lights up above and that nice curve of glass. But yeah, again, this is just to take a quick snap. I think I did a little basic processing in something like Snapseed. And this last shot, for me, is one of the best things about a phone, and that is selfies. And this is me and one of my granddaughters, and I was teaching her how to make a really big silly face and just having some fun.
That's a great picture, Chris. I showed that to Helen before the meeting. I thought it was great.
Okay, this is Caddo Lake.
Yeah.
This is the tea room is what they call it. This happens to be on the Louisiana side. And the only way you can get to it was by being ferried from the Texas side over to the tea room. Oh, another county. I'm sorry. So from a dry county to a wet county.
What's that? What's on the lake there? The yellow, those leaves or?
Yeah, it's just the water grass.
Yeah.
And this is just the lake out there with the changing colors of the cypress trees. And you can see there's a little rainbow up there. And then this was sunset one day. Look at the beautiful clouds out there.
Yeah.
Reflection's gorgeous. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a perfect example of a real, asymmetrical, nice leading lines. It's got all the elements in it. Good lighting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing for me, my camera, if you will, my lens is a 24-70. So what the cell phone does for me is it gives me a wide angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is in Jefferson that there were Lake Caddo is, but Jefferson's the only town that's close to it, and it's an old town. And this is an old railroad trestle, just right inside the city almost, right across from City Hall, kind of. I thought it was a nice picture. Nice clouds. This is Caddo Lake, just showing the fall colors and just a pretty place. I love it.
That's pretty.
And this is just another going down the canal. You can see the leaves are off the trees here. In some areas, they had some sort of worm infestation. They ate all the leaves off the trees. And so there were no leaves on the trees here, so you didn't get any color, but it's pretty because it's just the water grass and just the tree trunks, the texture of the trees is what I like so much. It's just gorgeous.
I think we should consider a pop-up or some kind of a field trip in 2024, maybe up there.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good.
That way.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, we have Debbie.
Yeah, that is my cat Abalon, and she loves living under the tree at Christmas time, and she decided she wanted to like pull on a few ornaments and stuff. But anyway, I like taking pictures of daily life.
Helping you
He's out in
rearrange.
the hallway right now, wanting to go to bed.
Oh, the dog. Well, she's right. Does she ever get into that tree?
Yeah, I will. Not really. She stays under the tree and
That's good.
was getting interested in the ornaments.
But I like the way she brought the dog in.
Yeah, she did. I have two Scotties, and one of them just adores her.
That's good. Emily.
Emily.
Hey, Emily, you here? Nope, don't see Emily.
I didn't see her.
Oh, I didn't see it.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, he is.
No, I don't see Emily second. What's going on here? Let me go back to that one. Let me go back. Okay, so Emily's here. Beautiful sunset. Look at the sun rays coming out and stuff.
Yeah. That's real God lighting there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a nice macro, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can get with that phone.
Yeah.
It is. That's a nice macro. Yeah.
The hibiscus, maybe. But this is a nice shot. It's just casual. People, it's somewhat editorial. It's like an event, but it just has a nice feel to it. Everybody's sort of relaxing there.
Well, they're looking down at the kid who's being a kid.
You may be a little blurry too from what they're drinking.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Jim, I love the snowflakes here.
Month and a half ago, we were on a trip to Finland and to Sweden. And this was actually taken in Sweden. And we were lucky in the fact that we had a lot of snow. And there'd been 2 trips before us where they'd not had any snow. So I don't know how they dog sledded and took their reindeer sleigh rides and snowshoed or whatever, but we actually lucked into it. Yeah, and this is it's snowing, it's night. We're actually in Sweden.
Mm. Nice.
This is in northern Finland, and we were actually sitting in a hotel eating at the dining area, and I looked out the window and said, "Well, that's really cool." So I waited through about 2 feet of snow to get to the back side of the restaurant to get that picture. And there were a lot of reflections in there too, but luckily I used I think I took care of them in Photoshop. No, I used Photoshop Elements to get rid of the reflections on that tree.
Mhm.
And this I took just because it was so difficult to try to process it to actually see the difference between the snow-covered trees. You can see there's a man there for
There's a man.
scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, for scale,
and-
that's great. That really gives it scale.
So it's a combination actually of falling snow and hoarfrost, where the air actually freezes
Yeah.
on the limbs.
Yeah.
So you get both of those together and you get some really strange shapes. But I was able to process it actually, so you can kind of tell the difference between the sky and the snow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this is Helsinki. It's a Christmas market in the foreground. And then in the background is the old Parliament building.
Wow. Did you get to practice your Finnish while you were there?
A little bit, but my Finnish isn't that good. I took it in night school for 2 years, 45 years ago. So
You're better at Minnesotan probably.
oh yeah, you betcha.
You betcha. Jim.
Yeah, this is St. Martin's down on Woodway and Sage.
Yeah.
Went down and had the guides that took us to the cathedral, and this was taken with the iPhone. This is Smith Rocks State Park right outside of Bend, Oregon. And this was one of my favorite pictures I took. It was in January, clear day, wonderful hiking in there, but the line, the curvature of the river, it just set up well for me, at least. But it was terrific hiking. This is a courthouse. This is the one in Lockhart, Texas, that I took about 2 weeks ago. And so I bagged about 10 or 12 of the real neat courthouses.
It's interesting. I've never seen a courthouse with that kind of a red brick.
Yeah.
That's really red. That's bright. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Now this is a sculpture in a desert area in California called Anza Borrega, which is west of the Salton Sea. And there's a resident sculpture, and he builds all these steel dinosaurs and all these other things out there, and they're fascinating to photograph. And that's one of them. And this is in Georgetown. About 3 weeks ago, they light up the courthouse square in Georgetown with Christmas lights. And I just handheld an iPhone and took this picture.
He's on here.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Now, Jim is not here. He did give me some notes. I'm going to read his notes off. It says a couple of words about the photos. One of Budapest Parliament building was taken in September this year. He says it's interesting because the building light, I've been in Budapest and it's usually lit up. Yes. The building lights were kept off to preserve electricity. And because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So they were keeping it dark. And then it says the next one here. Let me get over. He says this is his daughter. He says the shot of my granddaughter, Lexi, 3 years old, is mainly how I use my iPhone camera. A lot of us do that too, family shots. Okay, I use it to shoot pictures of my dog. Anyways, and
No
this
Prague,
one, yeah, and this last one here, he says it's is that Prague? Yeah. Okay, it says last photo is Our Lady of Our Lady before the Tyne in Prague Square. He says I was walking to dinner at sunset and the light was too beautiful to not take a picture, even though I didn't have my good camera. All these are taken with the iPhone 13 Pro. But that comment on the good camera, the camera you have with you is the good camera, right?
Right.
So that's anyways, that's his comments on his picture. And I appreciate him sending in the comments. That was nice. Oh, I've been there. John Gray.
Oh.
Hi, guys. This is Sand Dunes Park just outside of Alamosa, Colorado. I just pulled off to the side of the road and decided not to get my good camera out, so this is taken with my iPhone way into the park to get closer to the sand dunes. I was waiting for those clouds to darken up, and when I got into the park, and by the time I got into the park, all I had was blue sky. So it's good that I took this picture.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you think about the tonal quality. You've got all levels, everything from that dark tree, the blacks in that area, up to the whites in the clouds. You've got, like, the grayscale is really well represented. And it just shows these new phones, their gamut is really large.
Yeah. The other thing I like about them, Chris, and there's one other photo that I really noticed it in, is how much all the way from here to here, everything's pretty sharp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. You can see the grass right in front of the camera is sharp, and all the way the sand dunes are clear.
And that's one of the challenges is if you're doing portraiture or something where you want bokeh or whatever they call it, you want little, you have to actually go in and change the settings. But for general photography, this is like, that's like in the old days with a view camera. You used to tilt the front lens board so you'd have everything from the foreground to the mountains sharp, and it does it automatically now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets it sharp.
Yeah.
It is good.
And
that's
this
pretty.
is the Chihui Glass Museum in Seattle. And these red things are about 5 or 6 foot tall. And so this display is about 25 feet long. And again, this is an example of how everything's pretty sharp. The only place that it's kind of out, not completely sharp, is the stuff on the far left-hand side. Well, the iPhones do a great job. And this is a plant in my backyard. I took an iPhone photography class, and this is one of the photographs that I used as part of that class.
How did you get the black background and everything on there?
I used the portrait mode on the iPhone to take a picture of this, and the plant was very well lit, and the grass on the ground behind it was pretty dark, and it just made it black. I didn't do it on purpose.
Okay. Wow. That's
I
good.
used portrait mode on the phone.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, let me get this. This one came in sort of small. Kimberly.
Okay, so I feel like sort of like a wimp because I've been a member for over 2.5 years, and this is the mobile is what I sent in. But my husband and I we went to Big Bend the day after Christmas, and I have no idea exactly. It's just a picture of the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
Nice, really pretty colors.
Yeah, it is pretty. Nice color.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So this was a little tunnel and they have the mountains behind it and everything. But I just took my little iPhone and put it a couple of inches from the road and took a shot with that. And I got real tickled at my husband, who doesn't really care about photography. Everything I would try, he would try it. And then he would show me his and tell me his was better. So
your composition is great. It's a real leading lines, but you're telling a story. There's a road with a tunnel, and then you've got the beauty is everything from that rock, that gravel in the front to those mountains is beautifully exposed and sharp.
Yeah.
Relatively sharp, and that's good. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Chris.
I like the idea that you're not standing there taking the picture. The phone's down on the ground, which is good. Yeah.
Well, and it wouldn't be the same shot if you had just had those lines going into the center of
It's
the
been on
frame.
several of them. All of a sudden, after John Gray's, this is showing up in all the
That is
pictures.
nice.
Yeah, Kimberly, what you might have done after he criticized, he thought his picture was better, put him out in front, laying on the road. That might have fixed him.
We did have to kind of watch out for each other because there was traffic coming through there. Okay.
Nice.
So this is 2 of my 11 granddaughters or grandchildren. And this is what's so beautiful about an iPhone is I would not have gotten that shot with my Canon 5D. Number one, I wouldn't even have it out there by the pool.
Yeah.
And they're not going to stand still long enough, you know, for you to set up and everything. And so it's just a nice little action shot. And when you're outside, the colors are just vibrant and everything.
Yeah.
And so I really like that a lot.
And
Did you,
it's super
Kimberly,
sharp. It's great.
Did you use the live mode for that?
Pardon?
Did you use the live mode for that or not?
No. Yes, I might have because it's always on live. And
Yeah, okay.
so sometimes you don't have time to turn it off.
Well, the nice thing with that live mode is it takes so many pictures, you can select just the right one.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, and then another thing too is none of these, except for cropping them, are post-processed because I would have to wait for years to submit anything if I waited for that.
But you did a good job.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
great
you.
job. Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, nice shots.
Yeah, it is nice. We got Kathy. Kathy's not here. I don't have any notes on Kathy's, so we'll have to guess what these are. I'm sure it's family, probably in the Austin area.
Pretty lighting. Yeah.
Pretty lighting. I like the hair and the sun there. So. I know where this is, down where John Gray lives.
Pretty.
Nice.
That's in Royal Shores, I think.
Yeah, Royal Shores.
Yep.
Chuck, is that where you took the picture of your bike?
Yeah, that's where I was just 2-3 days ago.
I need to head out there sometime. I haven't been out there yet.
Yeah, it's nice there. They got some little gazebos there and stuff like that that aren't too bad. Nice area.
We could go do a photo pop up there and go over to John Gray's for desserts.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Come on over, everybody.
I love it. Yeah, that's good.
I walk down there almost every night.
Yeah, it's a nice area. And this is Kathy. This is so it looks good.
A little Christmas dessert.
Christmas aftermath.
Looks like what's left over after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Oh,
Actually, this is not mine. My wife took this, my wife Mary. She stopped by the chapel on the grounds of the old St. Martha's Church here in Kingwood. And she walked in, and a few seconds later, all of a sudden, the sun started coming through the stained glass. There's some beautiful stained glass there. And she grabbed her iPhone, snapped a quick picture, and about 5 seconds later, then the sun moved on. And so it was actually only there for about 10 seconds, she said. But anyway, I think it's really pretty nice.
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the iPhone. Again, it's in your hand. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you know.
But let me add one thing. I know we're taking up a lot of time talking, but we're having great pictures. This is what creating art is all about. It's
Yes.
like she had a vision. She said, I'm going to capture it. And
Yeah.
the camera helped her capture it. And that's a beautiful image right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's just straight right out of camera.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Margaret. Is Margaret here tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, she is.
Yes, okay.
She's still there.
Yeah, a few of the survivors from the last freeze, only because they were carted into the house. And this is an incredible succulent that I got from one of the garden club members last year. And the cactus has grown incredibly. It's about 4 times the size that it was. This is a little bitty baby that is coming out of it. And those the thorns, they're like rubber. I mean, they don't stick you or anything. It's a pretty amazing plant. It's right outside the back door, and I watch it like every day. I love it. And this is a little what's this called? Arrowhead plant that I got at the last garden club meeting last week, and decided, we only had about 6 plants because everybody's stuff froze like crazy. So there wasn't really much there, for people to take home. But anyway, I got lucky and got this little guy and stuck him in one of my favorite rocky pots that I like so much. And hopefully this will prosper and grow. I don't know. It's supposed to be a house plant. It's outside. We'll see what happens.
Damn.
Oh, all right. Yes. This is what I call room with a view. This was outside of our room in Anhalt, Italy. This was back last year when we went. It was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, this year we had a road trip. This is sunrise at Bryce Canyon. And believe me, it's cold even in May. It's sunrise. When we were out to Santa Monica, this was a couple years ago for the Rose Parade. We stayed there, and this was sunset when we came back. Look right out there over the ocean.
You got Randy.
I'm here. In December, first part of December, I took a cruise ship around the Hawaiian Islands, and these are all with the iPhone, and it was just right off the ship. It was just one of those beautiful nights. I mean, I have a series of them. I used my camera for a lot of them too, but I mean, again, the iPhone's pretty amazing. I shoot in RAW on the iPhone, and I do use Lightroom Mobile.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat app on the iPhone.
Yeah, definitely. We were departing. Actually, that first picture is Maui. We were departing from. This was from Hilo, and I just loved it because we're leaving, and that plane of anticipated vacationers are arriving.
From Alaska, probably.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Alaska Airlines.
Yeah, Alaska Airlines.
Well, it's nice about the lighthouse in that shot, which is an old style navigation tool. So you've got kind of a modern plane, a ship, and like a lighthouse.
And
That's nice.
And the navigation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was actually departing. These are out of sequence, but this was from Oahu the night that we left. So it's just a beautiful harbor there. And the last night of the cruise was the sunset on the Pali coast. And this was just what it is, the sunset. So.
Nice.
Scott.
Oh, he's on.
He's gone?
I don't think he's on.
Okay. Well, we've got that's more sunsets. I'm not sure where
It's a vibrant scene.
Oh yeah.
That is very pretty. I like the color in the water and stuff too. It's like,
Yeah, and the reflections. Yeah, nice.
Cool. That's pretty.
Ooh.
Wonder where that would be. Doesn't say it.
Canada.
These all have such good rules of composition, though. You know, you've got this kind of, it pulls you into the center here. Really nice.
Yep.
Well, the framing is nice with the trees
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
I've seen that picture.
Oh,
I've seen something similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're getting close to the end here. This is Scott, one more. So aspens, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are the neatest trees, I think. Okay, Steve.
I don't think he's here either.
You're not here. Oh, come on.
I call this incoming here.
Yeah. This
It
was
looks like
taken in,
geese.
this was taken in the Ukraine. Those are Russian MiGs coming in now. Yeah.
I think they're geese or maybe cranes.
Yeah.
New drones.
Yeah. It's funny, I belong to an infrared group on Facebook, and there's a couple of Ukrainians in there that post the greatest pictures from Ukraine.
I don't know where it's from, but based in the mountains, it's not Kingwood.
Steve, again, this one, light show.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like a Ferris wheel.
Well, look at the nice subtle colors.
Yeah,
That's
very
really-
nice, just asymmetric kind of composition. Yeah.
And even with that horizon exactly half, it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it works. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think the time you put the horizon in the middles, especially when you've got you got the symmetry of a reflection.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And it's-
really
and it-
gorgeous.
And
That's
it's
a
cropped.
valid way to do it. Yeah.
Tim.
All right, I think I'm bringing up the rear here. So this was on our South Dakota trip to many places, but this is the Crazy Horse Memorial site. And I think Connie and somebody else maybe said it earlier. I often bring my big lens out for certain things. I was wanting to get a close up of the face there, but I have my iPhone for the wide shot that I didn't think there was going to be a decent one, but I kind of like this this view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Badlands National Park. Same story. I think I had Randy is actually in this picture if you want some scale. If you look on the very left side, I'm pretty sure that's right.
Where is she?
Up on the left edge?
Very left side, right over there. There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh, I see it right
Tim-
there.
There's Randy.
You see
Tim
these?
said, how close to the edge can you get?
Yeah, so
Okay.
same thing. I actually brought my iPhone out. I had my 24 millimeter lens on, I think, but I brought the iPhone out because I wanted to use the ultra wide lens. But I ended up using the 26 millimeter instead, and that's what this is.
Mhm.
And much like somebody said earlier, I think Randy said you start off editing on Lightroom Mobile, but as soon as you do that and upload in the Lightroom Mobile, you can go to your computer, and if you have it set up, it'll sync over there, and you can look at it on a bigger screen and finish it there if you want to.
Yeah.
Or like the next one, you can get a little bit more carried away.
Hey, I know that spot. I was there shooting birds this afternoon.
I saw you like a week ago. You were walking over to the soccer field when I was
Oh,
standing
okay.
out here on the boardwalk, but you were too far away for me to yell at you. But this is kind of the extreme example of that, I guess. I was looking for a third picture to use, and I probably take this shot 15 times a year.
Yeah.
Somewhere on the boardwalk, just if I see something interesting. Well, the sky was not really that interesting that day, but the sky is also a mobile iPhone shot from a similar location on my way into work one day. But they're both iPhone shots, so they got combined together here in one of Chuck's favorite programs, and we tried to make something out of it.
That's very pretty.
You know,
Nice
Tim,
colors.
I walk that almost every day, and I walk to the last up ramp, and I go into the
disc golf course. Yeah.
if nobody's there, and it's funny because walking this at this time of day, that sun, even with sunglasses, it's blinding.
right
It's
there.
so
Yeah.
bright, you know.
I'm out there a lot when I have days off, and it's just a peaceful place to be. As long as it's there's not 50 fishermen out there, you're good.
Well, I love the people who are talking too loudly, and they're scaring all the birds
Oh
away.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think that's the end of our.
Nice presentation. I think this shows a lot of people really like to use their smartphones. It was a good, when I saw that was the topic, I thought, well, that's kind of a last minute decision, but on the other hand, a very good decision, I think.
Yeah, well, I think we shouldn't be making excuses for it. Well, it's only an iPhone. It's only this.
Right.
Like I said, I went to Canada, and that's what I took with me, the iPhone.
Yeah.
And Chuck, I think we've done an iPhone photography workshop.
We did.
The last 2 or 3 years. I think I'd like to make that an annual workshop.
And you and I talked about going out doing an iPhone shoot as one of these.
A photo walk with an iPhone.
And I think downtown or something like that, pick one of these places.
Or a smartphone, because some of us have Android.
Well, I mean,
some of us run Samsungs,
You can walk about 10 paces behind, but that's
which actually has a better camera in it.
Well, I think too, just because this was the iPhone share doesn't mean that you can't use iPhone or Android phones for any airline, right? We had some good participation here. That was really good.
Well, that's a good point. In the future, share and learn. I mean, some of the ones I've done in the past have been iPhones.
Yeah. I like to sneak them in there.
Well, I tend to use the word iPhone like Kleenex.
I do.
It's a mobile phone,
Xerox.
mobile camera,
Coke machine. All right. So next meeting, Tanya already went over it, but we have Hector Astorga becoming a better wildlife photographer and photographing wildlife around the globe. And so our share and learn will be street photography, mobile phone, big camera, whatever you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then we already talked about March, frameable for shooting or showing an actual printed. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Suitable for framing or showing a printed photo. So that's all we got tonight. So thank you all for participation and joining us. And
well, thank you.
Thanks,
see
Tim.
you at lunch meeting or pop up or next month.
Thanks a lot, and thank you again.
Thanks,
Greg.
everybody.
You're still here, Greg. Hey, Greg. By the way, these meetings are open to non-members. If you ever want to come in the future, either let me know or whatever, and I'll make sure you have a link.
Okay.
You see some of the speakers we have; they may interest you.
And I posted something on the Facebook page. Walgreens has got a special right now for an 11 by 14 for $1.99.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that.
Instead of 13, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Spanning 11 by 14.
And Sam, thanks for joining us from Mississippi.
I enjoyed it. It was very good. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for coming here. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, good night. Good night.
And Tim, you did a great job, and you're hired. You passed the test.
I'll just keep doing it 10 years, Tim.
Good job, Tim. Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Night.